Welcome to Smart, Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy, a podcast that takes a look at stories of life and leadership for smart, amazing women and men like you.
The way I can give support to the world right now is by showing up. The most important thing is don't think just that you have to bring anything. Bring yourself, show up.
If you are in a position of leadership and a position of management, bring women along with you.
Supporting women is Dr. Nancy's passion and her purpose, and talking with other women and men who promote women's leadership is one of her favorite things to do.
I've yet to meet a woman who did not know what she really wanted. She was just either afraid to ask the questions or she was afraid of what the answers meant.
Their stories connect us and help us understand that the possibilities are endless if we support each other and lift other women up.
Trust is created by persistent identity. I show up in my conversations. I build relationships. I show up as myself time and time and time again. And trust is built. It's one conversation at a time.
Lauren Schiller is an award-winning interviewer and the creator of numerous podcasts and radio shows, including the nationally syndicated Inflection Point, one of the first and only to exclusively cover how women rise up, build power, and lead change. Her new book, co-authored with Hadley Dynak, is It's a Good Day to Change the World: Inspiration and Advice for a Feminist Future. In addition to co-authoring with Lauren, Hadley Dynak is an activist, storyteller, and creative producer who helps causes and groups express why their work matters, join up with one another, and raise funds for impact. Now here's Dr. Nancy and her guests, Lauren Schiller and Hadley Dynak.
Hello, welcome. Good to see you both.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
And ready to go. All right. Well, this is how I do this, and I think it's so important. We're going to talk about your book. It's a Good Day to Change the World: Inspiration and Advice from the Feminist Future, a Feminist Future. We're going to talk about that. But I think what's always important is to find out about you all, because nobody does anything in this world. At least I don't think most people don't do things in this world unless they have a reason and a mission. I did Women Connect for Good, women supporting women, is because I didn't feel supported, back then. And I felt like I was a tomboy. I had more fun with boys than I did with girls. But then got married, had girls one after another, so God, she's got a great sense of humor. And I went, okay, I get it. I'm going to have to learn to be a woman. I'm going to learn to have to like it. But at first I've got to find other women that feel the same way. And being different, is, and I think most of us are different. We're different we're alike, but we're different in so many ways. But okay, the two of you working together, that's one thing. But tell me just a little bit about each one of you, why you're sitting here today. Tell me that. Who wants to start?
I can start. So I'm Lauren Schiller. I'm a radio producer and host, and I'm an author, and most recently of It's a Good Day to Change the World. And the book is an energizing, optimistic guidebook for a feminist future. And it features stories and tools from women who are leading change right now. And the reason that, the backstory for that, really, I'm going to have to say, starts with my mom, actually. So growing up, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And and although I'm sitting
person, yes, I understand.
Sitting here in California right now, and she herself was a leader of change. She was the first in her family to get a PhD, let alone graduate from college. She took me to march for the Equal Rights Amendment.
Wow.
And she always told me these stories of her aunts, who were my great aunts, who were change makers of their time in the mid 20th century. They were artists, performers, activists, organizing for labor, an educator, even a radio host, which I loved finding out.
Yeah.
And so, having these women as kind of emotional role models was super important to me. And, between them and my dad, who was always super supportive, I felt like, I can do and be anything I want to be. Right. So I entered the world feeling very optimistic, went off to college, worked at a radio station. When I graduated, I then worked for a performing arts center and ultimately ended up working in advertising. I worked for one of the best agencies in the world, helping tell brand stories. I did that for a huge part of my career. Had 2 daughters, also one after the other. Although I have a brother, and I always imagined I'd have a boy and a girl, but no, I ended up with 2 amazing girls who are now young women. And anyway, working in advertising, I bumped up against the Great Recession. And that's the opportunity that I took to go back to my love of radio. Yeah. And I started a show, which in 2008 was one of the first female-led podcasts and radio shows. And then a few years later, I started noticing that women were trending. There was a lot of conversation about women and leadership and how much progress we'd made, since I went on that march on Washington, but still I was observing how many setbacks we were still facing.
Right.
And I realized that there was a lot of conversation about women, but nobody was talking with women like we are right now on the radio. And so I started a show called Inflection Point, where I spoke with women who were building power and leading change, to understand how they did it and what obstacles were in their way and what I could learn from them, and in turn, what all of my listeners could learn from them. And so the book is really a distillation of those insights, which was catalyzed by the pandemic. So Hadley and I started working together about a year before the pandemic hit. She was my impact producer, helping us figure out how we could make the stories that we heard more.
Producer.
Yeah. Isn't that a great title? How we can make these stories more actionable. And so when the pandemic hit, we had to pause production, and we had time to reflect on what we'd learned. And so that's really what brings us here today.
Well, Lauren, by the way, my oldest daughter's name is Lauren also. So nice. I have a very fondness for the name as well, but Hadley's a cool name.
I know.
I like your name. That's Hadley.
It's pretty badass.
My name is Dr. Nancy, but it's Nancy. I was named after my grandmother. She was Big Nancy and I was Little Nancy, and now I'm the only Nancy. But, but I also had strong women in my family as well. My mother, in fact, my guardian angels are my mother, my grandma, and my 2 grandmothers, Anna and Nancy. So I'm all about guardian angels. So anyway, that's another story for another time. But Hadley, so the 2 of you found one. How did you find each other, by the way? How did you come together?
We met, as many great partnerships do, through a friend of a friend. I was looking for my next professional kind of opportunity, and Lauren was looking for a collaborator. So we went and had coffee and talked about our backgrounds and our vision and our 2 daughters. We both have 2 daughters. So we have lots in common, although I have a little bit different background in the sense that, Lauren was more on the corporate track and I was more on the social justice track. I'm an activist and a creative producer, and have worked with lots and lots of different nonprofits, and now actually have run some in the past and run a historic public garden in Occidental, California now, in addition to many things. But my training was in public health, and that education really helped me, I think, formatively think about the structures and systems that we all are influenced by through our upbringing or our community and culture, or the world at large, right? The one that we inherited or the one we've made.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of my orientation to the world and the work I do. And when Lauren was looking for someone to partner with, to take the content of the show and these incredible stories that, conversations she was having with women, and help make them even more actionable for her listeners, it seemed like a good thing to partner up and do. And so we worked together for a while. And then when we decided to put the show on pause and she wanted to write a book and invited me to participate, I said yes. So that's why we're here. I said yes, absolutely.
Well, and I think since COVID and in that whole period and what's going on now is storytelling. It's about relationships. I don't know about you, but during COVID is when I decided who I wanted to spend time with, who I did not want to spend time with. And the people that I chose were the ones that I had good relationships with, or relationships that I wanted to build and grow. And I think this is the book. You find these women and men, of course, who really understand, it's a good day to change the world. It's a good day. Every day is a good day. And I think what we want right now more than ever is a positive approach. I'm tired of listening. You turn the news on and it's always something awful. It's tragic. It's demoralizing, and it makes human beings feel like that we're just on the edge of catastrophe. So this is what we need. We need this right now. And my foundation is Women Connect for Good. And I've had this foundation for a long, long time. And I've been doing these podcasts for a long, long time. And the thing is that people want to hear good news. They want to hear solutions and actionable things that they can do to make them feel good. But the most important thing that I see here, the two of you sitting here, is that you have two women supporting each other and making it happen. And when you put 5 women, this is kind of one of my sayings, when you put 5 women in a room, they can solve the problem, they can figure out a solution, they know how to budget it, and they know how to get it done. And that's what we're good at. But it really boils down to relationships. And this book is all about that. And it's a simple process, but the book. Okay, let's talk about the book, because there's so much great advice, and I think that's it, about how do we help each other. And the one thing that's important that I've found, and then I'm going to let you all talk, is that women have to ask for what they want. They not only have to show up, but they also use their voices, but they also have to ask for what they want. So let's start there. Why this book? Why this book now?
Well, you hit on so many of the great points in the context within which we were writing this book. Many of the women that I interviewed, well, when I started the show, actually, it was more women leadership, more corporate focused. And and I started it in 2015, just as we thought we were going to see our first woman president. Which we all know how that turned out. The pendulum kind of swung.
I think we all went to bed and we woke up the next morning and go, oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Right. So which is really an analog for women's progress. We move forward, we move backwards, we move forward even more, which is why I called the show Inflection Point, because I really do feel like we're at this moment where things are feeling worse before they're going to get better. And we've collected so much momentum. So at the time, as the show progressed, I started talking with women who are working on more social change issues like gun violence, climate chaos, reproductive justice. And they had so many incredible things to say. And we wanted to capture those insights and put them into a format that would be really easy to open up. The book it's small, it's easy to open up. You can find a moment of inspiration
you can
on any of its pages, depending on what you need that given day.
What you need that day.
And then as far as the relationships go, who you choose to spend time with. I mean, Hadley and I spent every Friday. We decided that we were going to spend every Friday working on this book until it was done. That was from getting the agent to writing the proposal to actually writing the pages of the book. And I mean, Hadley, you can speak. We love talking about how we share. We had our little separate bowls of nuts because we weren't sharing food, but we were sharing ideas while we worked.
Yeah, sitting on Lauren's back porch often because, we wanted to be outside. It's the pandemic days and with our little bowl of nuts or whatever. Sustenance. Yeah. And I think it was a really scary time, and your point about collaboration and looking for kind of the silver lining or the good is kind of why we decided to spend our time focusing on this project during the pandemic, because we really did want it to feel optimistic and possible to see things through to a different day. and at one point we had gotten our agent and we had been writing the proposal and we were just kind of putting the finishing touches on it. And we were on a call. Sometimes we would take calls instead of sitting outside if it was raining or freezing or whatever. And we were on TV and one of Lauren's daughters, or we were watching TV and one of Lauren's daughters came down and was like, they're invading the Capitol. So January 6th is happening. Yeah. And it really just reinforced how important not only the positive messages are, but the idea that we can be part of making the world a different place, and that we want to do it in a positive way that feels accessible and also takes care of ourselves along the way, that we're not just giving all the time, but that we're also carving out space for meeting our own needs as we go.
And that's something that we really promote, is women you have to put yourself on the top of the list. Women, unfortunately, put themselves at the bottom oftentimes, and then the basket of goodies, they give out the goodies, and then when it's time that they need something, the basket is empty. So that's where it really is most important, is that women don't have to take off the Superwoman t-shirt underneath your corporate suit and say, wait a minute, I need some help here. And I think this is the thing that truly is going on right now, is that there are so many women with so many talents and abilities, but there's things that you do, Lauren, and there's things that you do, Hadley, that I'm not good at. And I know I'm not good at. And so why not let you do that? Because you're really good at it. Lauren, you're really good at that. And then we come together and create this not only positive relationships, but Gloria Felt always talks about the infinite pie, that there's always enough pieces for everyone. And I think this is also something that women are learning, because in the past it was about competition. It was about comparison and competition. And now it's about coming together and saying, wait a minute, you've got this, you've got that. Let's take our resources and put them together. Not only is it extremely cost effective, but it's, you know what? It's a lot of fun.
Exactly. And I've interviewed Gloria, and she's so inspiring. And one of the women who's in the book is Rhea Sue, who was the head of the National Resources Defense Council and led the charge against all the egregiousness that was happening in Flint, Michigan, with the lead in the water pipes.
Yeah.
And she actually signed on to be a sponsor of the first Women's March. And when I asked her, what's the connection between the NRDC and women's equality and women's rights, she talked about how women are disproportionately affected by environmental injustice and the importance of coming together and finding each other, and solidarity and strength, especially in this time when there are so many forces trying to push us apart from each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, getting to the table and the decision makers. I mean, I think basically, if more women were sitting at the table of decision making, we would have less problems. We'd have good health care. We'd have great education. Our communities would be healthier and safer, and we would have things running very smoothly. But we've got to keep working on that. Now, I'm talking about men and women also, because one of the things that we really promote with Women Connect for Good is finding like-minded people who understand this. But you know what? There's more of us. It's beginning to be more of us and less of them. And this is the fun part. This is the fun part.
Yeah, we absolutely have to work together. We need men to be part of this. There's no way that women cannot do it as strong as we are together. We need men to be part of this, and men will benefit too from a more equal society.
Well, and not only that, the diversity and inclusion of women of all different races and backgrounds, and men of all races and backgrounds. We have to come together. We can't have these silos and these kingdom comes that, here you are, because we'll never, ever get to the finish line. And nobody gets anywhere alone. And look at the two of you. You are a wonderful example of that. Okay, the book talks about a lot of advice, and and I want people to go to the book. So we're going to kind of give them a little sneak preview. But I said every story gives advice, and there's example of that advice, but the vision. And I think the vision and what you want to create with this book, what can people expect, or what can people want to receive after buying the book, reading the book, and walking away and going, aha, this is my aha moment. So what do you want from that?
Well, we had a lot of conversations about what do we mean by a feminist future, because that word is actually quite loaded, and it always has been.
Yeah.
And for us, the definition is a world that is equal, just, and full of joy. It's
Right.
that simple for all genders, where everyone can thrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do we get to that world? From listening back to the conversations, over 200 of them that I had over the course of 5 years, we discovered that there was a pattern for change that anyone can use to apply to anything in their lives, be it, at work, at home, or in the world. It's a 5-step framework that starts with imagine, then moves on to prepare, create, transform, and share. And we don't think of it as a linear thing necessarily, although it is helpful if it goes in that order. But depending on where you are in any process, once you get to the share part, you can start all over again, or you can inspire someone to open their imagination.
Yeah.
So all of the stories are organized into each of those chapters to reinforce each of the ideas. So if you were to open the Imagine chapter, you would run into a young activist named Isha Clark, who's an environmental activist, or you'll find Fabiana Rodriguez, who's a cultural organizer and artist. And you go all the way to the end at Share, and you find Betty Reed Soskin, who is one of the oldest park ranger in America, and she, I believe she's almost to be 101 at this point.
Really? Wow.
Or 2 possibly. Yeah. She might have made it to 102, and she's been going around the country giving talks about Black lives, and the importance of storytelling, and calling back to that she knew her grandmother who was a slave. So a great grandmother, excuse me. So we've got this range of women that demonstrate how you as a reader can take matters into your own hands and make a difference.
Yeah, and I'll just add, we consciously, worked to have a representative sample as much as possible from the interviews. So we've got, different ages, like Lauren just talked about. Isha Clark, I think, was 16 or 17 when Lauren interviewed her.
Yeah, that's great.
Betty Reed was, over 100. We've got people from different parts of the country and focusing on different issues, and some that are very, very well known, like Gloria Steinem and Sarah Silverman and Lily Tomlin, but then others that are lesser known, but doing equally important work or just emerging. We really feel like the idea of what you were saying earlier about how we have to do this together is reflected not only in the tools and the advice that are in the book, but in the representation of the voices that you get to experience.
Yeah. So the book is about collaboration. The book is the overall message to what you want to share. But again, what happens in, the book is of course the book will be a bestseller. Why wouldn't it be?
That's the goal.
So what's next? What would be next?
Well, as far as what we want the reader to take away, we want everyone to feel like they have the power to change the world. We want people to say to themselves, I trust in myself that I have the power to make a difference. And secondly, and equally as important, we talk about the ability to sustain yourself. So every single profile, there are 30 people featured in the book. There's a little bit of a backstory, there's tools to change the world, and then there's advice to keep going. And we feel like that is, I think Hadley does such a beautiful job about talking about why that's so important. Yeah. And actually, why don't you for a second? Because we've really emphasized this idea that you can't just be out there pounding on doors and making your voice heard and sitting at the table and making change if you don't take a step back and think about how you're going to sustain yourself along the way.
Yeah, I would say that the common theme that we found in all of the stories when we went back to look at how do these women take care of themselves and keep doing this hard work was around kind of rest and community and joy, and in all different iterations. And one of the women in particular, her name is Shawn Korn. She is an internationally known yogi and kind of mindfulness wellness instructor. And she talks about, the idea that we can't let fatigue overwhelm us, that we have to really focus on ourselves so that we have the strength for ourselves as well as for our community, our children, that the exhaustion that we often feel when we're talking about political issues or we're trying to change the status quo in some ways is strategic and somewhat politically motivated. And so it's actually an act of resistance, if you want to think about it that way, to say, wait, time out, pause. I am going to step back and take care of myself or take care of my community and let someone else pick up the mantle of this particular cause. Because if we're all exhausted and fatigued and burnt out, we can't do anything. So that's a really important part, I think, of this book, is balancing, the change with the care.
Yeah. Learning to say no.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Learning to prioritize. And I do these little videos every day, and it really is, most of the time I'm talking to myself, but it really is about women. It's the power to, it's taking care of yourself, but I also talk about the fear that women experience. But we're at a time though that we can't get too comfortable. The one thing I do say is that women need to get used to being comfortable, uncomfortable in different situations. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. But the overall message is, it starts with us. At the end of the day, I know that if I haven't taken care of myself, I'm not going to be good at anything. And you have to really sometimes get that point across to women, that this is about you. And that's why I always start these podcasts out, these conversations out. This is about you. And sometimes women I can just see them kind of push back, it's like, about me. Yes, you're both very, very important. And we need more voices such as yours. We need these voices. And we've got some things coming up we'd like to involve you in that are pretty exciting. So I'm going to have Melissa get in touch with you. But when I do these conversations, when I have these, it's about me developing relationships with you all. And it's not about, oh, thank you very much, see you later. But it's really about building this community of like-minded people who really, I'm all about, it's a good day for change, to change the world for good. That's what I do. That's what I do. And when I find women like you, I go, oh yeah.
Well, yeah, that whole idea of a virtuous circle, and each of us building on the next person's work and complementing it and making it stronger is so important.
Well, we have a wonderful called Lift Up campaign. We lift as we rise. If you're going up, you're lifting someone else as you go up. If we all did that every day. So we have 52 weeks of ways you can lift one another up. So we'll get you involved in that. But again, there's some things coming up that I think you really would like to be a part of.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I would be thrilled to engage and look forward to meeting you personally. But like I said, this is a great book. I'll put it back up again.
No, thank you.
It's a good day. It's a good day to change the world. Inspiration and advice from the Feminist Future. So how do they buy this book? Where do they reach you all?
Okay, well, the book is available at it'sagoodDayBook.com. And there's also an audiobook. We just finished recording the audiobook. I did the narration, and then we have an incredibly talented narrator reading the women's stories. And we're telling everyone to get one for yourself, get one for a friend, and get one for your local library.
Fantastic.
That's so it'sagoodDayBook.com has all the different ways you can purchase it. It's available at independent bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Bookshop, etc.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anything else that's coming up? Well, let us know. Let Women Connect for Good know. If there's something that's coming up, we'd love to promote. We'd love to share as well. So, and storytelling, I'm now part of the National Women's History Museum.
Oh, wonderful.
It's all about storytelling. The stories of so many, women come from a place of abundance. The history books have not shared the stories to tell other women just all about that. So again, we're coming from places that are so absolutely wonderful that we'll continue to share, and we continue to find women that want to do just the same thing. So congratulations on your new book.
Thank you.
The greatest success in all ways, and it's been wonderful talking to you all. So we will be in touch. This is not the last time you've heard from me. Have a great day.
Love
You
it,
too.
Dr.
Thanks
Nancy.
so much.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Have a good day. Thank
All
you.
right.
Take care.
Bye-bye. If you enjoy these smart, amazing conversations, please subscribe, rate, and review them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And read and enjoy more amazing stories in my books, In This Together, How Successful Women Support Each Other in Work and Life, and Leading Women, 20 Influential Women Share Their Secrets to Leadership, Business, and Life. Thank you for listening.